Historians. My name is Bilton, and today we're going to dive into an era of revolution. I am speaking of one revolution in particular, the French Revolution of 1792. Now, let's take a look and find out what people know about the revolution.
I am the Margaret with Mr.
Eberhard.
Okay, so what do you know about the French Revolution?
A little bit.
Such as?
The uprising of the middle class to overthrow the upper class.
Hi! My name is the Margaret Thatcher. What is your name?
My name is Julia.
Oh, magnifique! Okay, so what do you know about the French Revolution?
Not much.
It happened in France after the American Revolution, I think.
Oh, do you know anything about France?
I think they're better known.
Do you know where it took place? France. Oh, okay. Do you know who the king was at the time of the French Revolution? He starts with an L.
King Louis.
Who was the king at the time of the French Revolution?
Gosh.
And who was his wife?
Napoleon?
Yeah, that was wrong.
Who was the king?
King Louis, the
King Louis
16th.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And his wife?
I don't know.
Marie Antoinette.
Okay.
Yeah.
The French Revolution was a phenomenon that was not sparked by one action or event. It was a gathering of tensions over time. France was actually experiencing an economic growth in the 18th century. You would think this would ease tensions, right? Oh no, quite the opposite. This wealth actually fueled the tensions further, and it was evenly distributed and spent on the Americans for their revolution. The saying, the rich get rich and the poor get poor, sure rings true in this situation. The poor's discontent quickly resenting the better off individuals, especially the king and the queen. The old regime was the social hierarchy, which was divided into three estates. The first estate consisted of the clergy, who could afford to pay taxes but were exempt because they were a part of the church. The second estate was the nobility, an exclusive group that owned a majority of the wealth and filled the government positions. The nobles assisted the monarchy. King Louis XVI and his wife, Marie Antoinette, ruled France from 1774 to 1792. Their lifestyle was carefree. The king was as gluttonous as his wife was materialistic. Bring me more wine!
Thank you. Anything else, miss?
Yes. I need a new necklace. This one's already looking dull.
Right away.
Thank you. Look at my horrible face.
Finally, the third estate was seen as the most insignificant. A majority of the population lived in this estate. The peasants' discontent with starvation, exhaustion from labor, and taxation stirred pre-revolutionary tensions.
Why do I work like this, starving, while the king sits around doing nothing?
We must remember that the third estate wasn't just the peasants. It was the merchants, the artisans, the bourgeoisie, the middle class. And they were doing all the work and getting none of the reward.
No matter how you vote, by
head by order, you will never, ever, ever, ever be on top. Third estates.
What is the third estate?
Everything. What has it been thus far in the political order? Nothing. What does it demand? To become something. Sit down, brother. Sit down, brother.
The voting system was not fair for members of the Third Estate. On June 20th, 1789, the members declared that they had the right to write up their own constitution. After being locked out of their usual meeting spot, they made history at a local, nearby tennis court.
So sick of those filthy royals leaving us on everything when we basically run the country.
I would do anything for a piece of bread!
Hey, you know what? Why don't we write our own constitution? That way we can be in control and get what we deserve.
Bread? Yes, bread! Must we keep the king and queen?
Why not? It's tradition. Besides, they can't do much more harm than they've already done. The creation of this constitution shall forever be called the Tennis Court Oath.
The destruction of the old regime was inevitable as the upper estates began to be assassinated by the peasants. It was on August 4th, 1789, that the National Assembly finally curbed of the clergy and nobility's rights. The Declaration of Rights of Man was a document that advocated the freedom of press and the freedom of speech. However, unfortunately, women, they did not get these rights. It was horrible. How absurd.
The increasing tensions led to numerous revolts across the country. The Great Fear was a period of time in which peasant uprisings spread like wildfire. However, this violence was not blind fury. It was organized and executed to perfection. The most famous urban uprising was the fall of the Bastille, which proved that mobs could overpower royal armies and the idea of despotism. Why? This is a revolt!
No, Your Majesty! Today, July 14th, 1789, this is a revolution!
When the birth prices were at their highest, women took part in the revolution. The Women's March urged for lower food prices. Bread was the most important staple because it constituted most of a person's diet.
Bread prices have gone up again. How am I supposed to feed my family now? A single loaf costs as much as my husband's weekly wage.
It is all King Louis XVI's fault. He is supposed to be taking care of us. He and the Austrian whiteheads should just go back to Paris.
The only way to make them move will be to force them. We'll show them. Off with the king's head to return the bread! 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 Bread!
Reforms took away the church's power, and lands confiscated for economic aid. In general, a complete restructuring was taking place. This is what makes the French Revolution so revolutionary. It turned everything upside down. The completion of the Constitution took place in 1791 and called for constitutional monarchy. Many opposed the idea of keeping a monarch, but admired the tradition of still having a king, but only one without power. King Louis XVI started to see the chaos unraveling in his country and made an attempt to escape, known as the King's Flight. The people discovered that their trust in him was a mistake. This marked a radical turning point in the revolution. See, finances are failing and taxation isn't helping. People are acting out of obedience more frequently. I cannot stay here much longer.
Let's go to Austria. They have lovely jewelry there. We don't want this revolution spreading. Civilized kings such as myself want to keep their power. Your country's behavior is affecting all of Europe.
Mark your calendar, or what's left of it. 1793 is when we declare war on thee. It's great that we have the Constitution and all, but I still don't have any bread.
The king is on my last nerve. Not only is there violence all over France, but he has us at war with the rest of Europe.
I think he needs to go.